Here's a riddle for you. A string player uses something every day that comes from at least 5 different countries, but it's not their instrument. What is it? That's right, it's the bow. It's been around for centuries, and your instrument wouldn't sound the same without it. But where does it come from? The stick, the frog, the eye, the mountings, the head plate, the thumb leather, the hair. Each piece comes from a different part of the world, and a bow maker crafts them into an international work of art. From the timber of Brazil to the timbre of your strings, this is how a bow is made. The violin as we know it was created around the 15th or 16th century. The bows they used were shaped like an archery bow, and a lot shorter than what we use today. In the classical period, composers started writing more solo repertoire for the violin. But unlike today, there was still no standard way to make a bow. The bow we use today was developed in the mid-19th century thanks to a man named François-Xavier Tourt. Many makers have refined his designs and made even more improvements over the years, but Tourt's bows are still the basis for what modern bow makers do today. The stick of the bow is made from a wood called Pernambuco, which is found only in the coastal plains of Brazil. Pernambuco has been traded since the 16th century by the Portuguese to use as a dye for everything from clothes to paint. Tourt discovered this wood was also perfect for bow making. It is flexible, yet durable, and looks beautiful. Since his discovery, it has remained the standard wood for bow making. Next, we're traveling to the tropical regions of West Africa and Southeast Asia for ebony, which is used to make the frog. It's one of the densest, hardest woods in the world. This makes it very water resistant and a great material to use for the part of the bow that touches your hand. Now we head to the west coast of North America for abalone shells. These are used to make the slide, button, and eyes. Abalones are mollusks, which means they have one shell as opposed to 2 like a clam. Think snail or sea slug and you're on the right track. Abalone shells come in many varieties. Bow makers choose the shells based on color, then flatten them to use for the slide, button, and eyes of the bow. The metal mountings of your bow can be made from many different materials like nickel and gold, but silver is the most popular. These mountings include parts like the ferrule, button, and winding. The silver can be found in mines across the world, including North and South America. We've now reached the most controversial part of the bow, the head plate. Its use isn't the problem, it's the material. Historically, the head plate was made out of elephant ivory. At the time, it happened to be the perfect material to make the head plate without adding too much weight to the bow. Today, bow makers do not typically use ivory. The only legal source available in the United States is from the fossilized remains of woolly mammoths in Siberia and other regions of Russia or Alaska. For the thumb leather, there are a few different places we can go. If the leather is made from water buffalo hide, this comes from China or Southeast Asia. This is the most common kind of leather used on bows. It could also be reptile leather. In this case, it's either water monitor lizard from Indonesia or Thailand, or karung snake from Java. Your teacher wasn't kidding. The hair on your bow is actually made of real horsehair. It comes mainly from Mongolian stallions in, where else? Mongolia. The hair from this particular kind of horse is thicker because of the climate. The thicker the hair, the harder it is to break, which makes it perfect to use on a bow. But how do all these different pieces come together? That's where your local bow maker comes in.
Well, the bow consists of 3 different parts. You've got the stick, you've got the frog, which is the part that holds the hair and travels back and forth on the stick to put tension on the stick, and then the button or the adjuster, which is the screw that you use to tighten things. I tend to make the frog first, make the stick second, and then put everything together in the third phase. So basically it's about 1 day per portion, sometimes longer. I choose the material for the stick, Pernambuco wood. It comes from Brazil. It's a dense, oily, tropical hardwood. I choose it based on the weight of the wood and then the strength of the wood. Visually, like what the grain looks like, color. You don't want a bow that's going to be too stiff so it doesn't sound nice. And you don't want a bow that's too soft because it'll be hard to play. Choosing ebony for the frog, I like wood that's very dense, very black in color. Because you think about the frog is getting soaked with perspiration and then drying out. So for longevity, a denser piece of ebony is going to do better. Actually, one of my favorite parts is the initial bending. You're playing the stick and you do this heating and you bend the stick and you get a sense of how it's gonna go, and it's really the first time you get a sense of what the bow's gonna be like. The permanent parts are the stick and the frog and button, and the metal parts. Hopefully those will last many, many decades.
From the hardwoods of South America to the stallions of Mongolia, the next time you pick up your bow, you'll know. You are making music with a world traveler.